Okay, so my lesson. I'm very excited today. Thank you all for being here. This is my favorite lesson. This is my favorite lesson of the entire 2 years of your freestyle experience. It's my favorite. It's my favorite for kind of a personal reason, and I'll explain. When I first began teaching many years ago, before I was a teacher at Freestyle, I taught a little art class. I taught a little art class at a private school to 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And when they hired me to that position, the principal of the school said, "This is not arts and crafts. I don't want you to have students making arts and crafts all day long. I want you to actually teach them about the principles of art." The name of the class is Art and Visual Literacy. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I'm really excited about that. I'd love to get into depth and start, teaching about these different, ideas and what makes art and how art can jump off the page. And the idea of visual literacy, really spoke to me as someone who has a film background. You're basically saying show, don't tell, right? Visual literacy. So I thought that was really, really cool. So as I taught this art class for a while. I did it over the summer, I did it over a number of summers, and I got more practice at it as I went. And by the time I had done it 2 or 3 years, I started having that craving to sneak some film stuff in there, because that's what I'm passionate about, that's what I'm interested in. And so I remember I talked to the principal one day, and I remember trying to, tactfully kind of, wheel and deal her a little bit, and I was like, hey, wouldn't it be great to, maybe introduce a little bit of animation? I thought maybe I could sneak in some film by using animation. Maybe I can get some animation in there, teach some visual literacy within some animation and film context. What do you think of that? And by then the principal had trusted me, she liked me, she popped into my class from time to time and really liked what I was doing, and she says, hey, that's great, do whatever you want. That's awesome. I might come in and check it out. I said, yeah, that's great, that's awesome. So by the end of the summer every year, the last 3 or 4 days, I would spend and we would talk and I would put up, old cartoons, Donald Duck cartoons, some clips that you're going to see here, some different clips from some different movies, and we analyzed them from a film perspective is really what we did. And the students loved it, and it was really great, and I loved it because that's what I'm really passionate about, and I really enjoyed it. And that was my little art class. And to get my students excited about it, they're 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, I would call it secret messages in art. You're trying to find the hidden meaning of the art in this visual literacy. When they hired me for Freestyle, they called me. It was the middle of the school year. The teacher had left, the previous teacher had left in the middle of the school year. They desperately needed a teacher. Someone had recommended me, a former client of mine. They called me up and they said, hey, come check this place out. I'd heard about Freestyle. I knew about Freestyle. I desperately thought this would be awesome to come teach at Freestyle. They brought me in during the break of February. And Mr. Flo introduced, showed me around, and I checked it out, and it was all awesome. And I thought, man, this is great. This is really cool. I'm super excited. And I showed him some of my work, and he was like, oh yeah, you're fine. Students will like you. Let's get you in there. And then we went to the district office, where they spent the next 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out how to legally get me into the classroom because I didn't have a teaching credential at that moment in time. And I still remember sitting in the district office, and some woman in the district office walks out and says, Matt Taylor, that name sounds really familiar. And I got really nervous. She said, did you used to go to Mountain View High School? I said, no, Matt Taylor's a really common name. Oh, you went to Mountain View High School. I think I remember you. And I just remember sweating bullets, thinking to myself, my mother warned me there would be days like this. But they hired me to that position, and I'm still here. And I still remember being really, really nervous before my very first day because I didn't know, it was the middle of the school year, I didn't know where the students were at, I didn't know what their capabilities were, what their skill level was, I kind of knew what unit they were on, but they hadn't really done a whole lot for the last month because they had kind of had a sub in there for a long time. They really didn't have a lot of basis or foundation, so it was really difficult to kind of figure out how to prepare because I wasn't sure where they were at. And that was a little nerve-wracking for me, but I figured, they were probably going to be as clueless as I was going into it, so we were going to kind of figure things out together. And I still remember this email that Mr. Flo sent me the night before, Sunday night, and Mr. Flo sends me this email in very typical Mr. Flo fashion that says, well, what are you going to do for the first 2.5 hour block? I thought, 2.5 hours, that's intimidating for a teacher to prepare for that amount of time and to feel like you're responsible for teaching for 2.5 hours. And I still remember Mr. Greco chiming in, responding all to that email in very Mr. Greco fashion, say, you're going to do great, everything's going to be wonderful, don't worry, the students are going to love you and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, this is a very good introduction of the staff for me, here at Freestyle. So I came in, and I was fortunate that I knew some of the students in the class already, and I was able to teach, and everything went great. But I remember being very, very nervous going into this class, and I thought, well, at least, you know what? At least I have this one lesson. I've got one lesson that if I need to pull out of my back pocket, I can pull it out, because I've developed this one lesson that I had taught in my art class many years ago. And I saved it for the right time. When the right time came, I taught it to my seniors, and they really liked it. And I wanted to teach it to my juniors, but I gambled, thinking maybe, just maybe, Freestyle will hire me full-time, and I can teach it to them when they're seniors. So I didn't teach it to my juniors that year, and I was very fortunate, very blessed, and I'm still here, thankfully. And so I get to teach this lesson every year. So it's my favorite lesson because it's my first lesson. It's really my first film lesson, which is why it's sentimental to me for that particular reason. I call it Film Mode, Secret Messages of Art. It's all about visual literacy. If you think back to when you were here earlier, maybe this year, or earlier, maybe last year if you were in my class, you remember we focus a lot on show, don't tell. This is the advanced lesson for show, don't tell. If you like cinematography, if you like being a director of photography, if you like designing shots and being creative with shots, this lesson is for you. This is the advanced stuff. I'm not talking about, I always use the example, what separates filmmakers from home movies, right? This is not filmmakers separating from home movies. This is what separates Oscar-winning filmmakers from very competent directors. Okay, the stuff that we are talking about is high-level, advanced cinematography, really getting into the depths and symbolism and meaning and planning out your shots at a really detailed and minute level. This takes a lot of practice. This takes a lot of time. This takes a lot of planning. But the stuff in here is really, really cool. So I call it Film Mode. We're going to get into Film Mode. My goal by the end of today is to ruin every movie for you for the rest of time. I apologize ahead of time. You might not ever watch a movie the same way again. You might forever, as I do, and as many film people do, you might go to a movie theater from now on for the rest of your life and get into what I call film mode. And you might forever, oh, they're doing this, and I understand why they're doing this, and they're doing this so that I feel this. And you start to become very aware of the film language. When you remember back to when you were a first-year student of mine, we talked about the importance of developing your film language, learning how to communicate using visual means. That's what this is all about, only now we're really getting into the advanced language here. Okay, the advanced form of language. So, film mode, or what I like to call for my 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, secret messages in art. We're going to start my lesson today with this painting. This comes from my art class, from when I was teaching art class many years ago. I wanted to teach a little bit about color theory, and I happened to pull out this painting. And we started looking at this painting, looking about the colors and about all this different kind of stuff and what it means. But as we started to analyze this painting, we noticed something really, really interesting. And as a class of 4th and 5th and 6th graders, we had this really great discussion about the meaning of this painting. So this is a painting by Marc Chagall. Marc Chagall lived in 1887, passed away in 1985. And what I want you to do is I want you to look at this painting and tell me what you see. Okay, I'm going to turn off the lights for a second so you can see a little bit better. You might need to get a little bit closer. That's okay if you do. Okay, tell me what you see. Just you can shout it out.
Love a chicken.
Violin.
A bride. A wedding. A kite.
Paintbrushes.
Chicken. Contrast.
Some houses.
Okay, we're a little bit closer. You're going to need to get a little closer. Get a little closer. Go ahead. Go ahead. Don't be shy.
Oh, I see dead people.
Everybody stop standing in front of the projector.
Hold on, can I see it?
The little guy with the face over there.
The violin player.
That looks like a big ass peacock with a top hat.
I agree.
Giant.
Wait, there's a face here. That's a
It
nose.
looks like smoke
Right?
coming out of the chimney.
No?
But it's also a
Oh wait, yeah, that's a face.
And also
I
a
think
camera
so.
player. See that?
That's a nose.
They're not
Yeah,
showing
It's a
it.
violin.
It's too big to be a violin.
That is a chicken.
Okay, I'm hearing a lot of good observations. I'm seeing trees. I'm seeing faces.
Yeah, that's
The
what I
name
said,
is on the
paintbrushes.
Okay, I'm seeing a village of
I see a
sorts.
signature.
Is that a paintbrush in his hand?
Okay, let's talk about. Okay, you can come back a little bit. You can come back a little bit so we can all look at this together.
That red type.
Okay. Okay, now that we've kind of pointed out what we see, let's talk about kind of what's going on in this particular painting. Okay, where can we derive meaning from? Okay, let's start with the setting, right? Let's establishing shot, right? Like we would in a scene, right? Where is this? When is this?
1880.
Nighttime.
I think France at night.
Okay, it's nighttime. We know that. Okay, anything else?
In a neighborhood.
It's outside.
Outside, urban,
Older time.
older time.
It's in the autumn because of the tree color.
Maybe in the autumn. Okay. All right. Okay. Who is our main character? Who's our protagonist? Let's keep going. Green guy. Now, why is he green, do you think?
Eats too many vegetables.
He's got leprosy.
He's
Is it a he?
I thought it was just
It's,
You can't see something.
He's growing. It's like the tree's dying, right? 'Cause the
Okay.
tree-
So we have our character, our main character. This is our protagonist. Okay, who's up in the middle of the night. Okay, what is he doing? He's painting. He's painting. Why is he painting? Like, well, what makes you think he's painting? Sorry.
I think he sees something and he wants to put it down on paper.
Okay. How do we know he's painting?
Oh, he's
got
holding
a
it.
canvas.
Look at, we got a canvas over here. We got a brush and some palettes over here. Okay. All right. So he is painting. So we got a guy up in the middle of the night painting. Okay. What else?
The white or whatever is like coming off of the canvas.
We do have this kind of interesting stream coming from the canvas. What do you suppose he's painting?
I keep thinking because her face is blue and the other guy's is red.
Okay, let's look at our other characters here since you brought it up. That's a good point. So we've got kind of a blue-faced woman over here and kind of a red orangey-faced person over here. So tell me about these characters. What do you think?
They look like they're getting married. Because it looks like the woman's wearing a gown with a veil.
Okay. What do you think? You guys agree with that?
dancing.
Maybe a wedding, maybe like they're dancing. Okay. She's got kind of a nice long veil here that kind of trails behind her. Okay. All right. Tell me more.
I see kind of a theme of romance because you see like kind of the candle lights and they're like dancing in like very suitable clothing, I guess. And then there's also the violinist in the background, which seems like a very romantic setting.
Okay. Okay. Romantic setting, romantic theme, imagery, perhaps. Okay. Let's look at this character. Okay. What is his emotion? How am I supposed to feel? How am I identifying with this character? He's happy? Maybe he's drawing a nice little wedding, maybe? Is he smiling? Is he crying? Like, I mean, if you look at
His face looks melancholy.
his face looks melancholy.
Yeah, he just kind of looks like he's...
Okay, Christian, come up. Come on up. Come up real close, okay? All right, real close. Come on. Join us.
Block the photo.
You're okay. You're all right. All right. Tell me the expression on his face. What do you see?
It just looks very, very kind of dull. It looks like he's not got much going on.
Okay. I mean, it is the middle of the night.
Is he tired?
Maybe. I don't know. Look at his eyes. Get a close look. Get in there.
It looks like he's got some kind of, like, there's a little bit of black underneath his eyes.
Okay.
So he could be tired.
Any other colors in there?
There's some white on the side of his eye.
Okay. A little white on the side of his eye.
Oh, there's white in his eye.
There's some white in his eye. Some blue in there, too, actually.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on?
Is he crying?
Is he?
Is he? Could that be the white?
But he's
The white-
smiling, too, though.
Is he smiling? Wait, Mr. Taylor. He's painting seasons, right? And he's crying because the season's ending. Because like winter is turning to fall.
I can't tell.
Well, whatever,
Okay, sit down, thanks.
But the violinist is a dead.
Okay, so we have this guy here. We have this painter who's up in the middle of the night. He's up in the middle of the night painting something. Take a look at this painting. What colors do we see on this painting?
Same color as the other.
See some blue, some bright orange, What colors do we see in this painting?
All of them.
Some blue, some bright orange. What is he painting?
The thing on there.
Seasons.
What is he painting? Say it, Maisie. You just said it.
What?
Say it. What is he painting?
Said he's painting the
He's painting the painting. Ladies and gentlemen, who is our protagonist? It's Marc Chagall. Okay, if this is Marc Chagall and he is painting this painting, what else can we learn about Marc Chagall by observing this painting? Marc Chagall likes Marc Chagall.
He has green skin.
Okay, let's look at that actually. Let's look at that. So we have this character with like the green skin. We've got this character with like blue skin and this character with orange skin. What do you suppose that means?
A lot of times colors are associated with like personalities, I guess. And like,
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the Disney thing. You know how all the different characters inside of Disney.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Don't steal my thunder.
Hold.
Sorry, I
Just hang out for a minute. Yeah. Did your hand up? No. Richard, do you have a thought?
I was thinking he's the chicken.
He's the chicken.
The chicken's
Dude, he's
green
green.
and red.
He's the chicken. Let's focus on this. Let's focus on this couple here. All right. Describe these people to me. Why are they the color that they are?
Opposites attract.
Opposites attract, maybe? Okay. Spencer?
I'm kind of taking some of this from Aya, but I think that those are probably his parents.
Maybe his parents?
I'm feeling that the dad's dead and he's grieving over his life.
You think the dad is dead?
Yeah. I think that he's grieving over it. Or the mom.
Or you think the mom is dead? The woman is dead?
The mom's blue. Oh, and then
There's also like the body in front of him. It looks like. I mean, I can't tell if that's intentional.
Oh, green. Red is the opposite. They're the complementary to green.
Okay. Ethan, you had a thought?
well, yeah, because I think what Spencer said is really like I like that a lot because the mom's blue. Everything around it is blue, right? And then
Uh-huh.
there's that kind of face-like thing coming off the side.
Uh-huh.
So I think he's grieving over the dead mother, and then like reminiscing about all the things that she had in her life.
Interesting, interesting. You know, she does kind of have this ghostly figure here, doesn't she?
That is true.
And they'll go back to the wedding day if it was like actually his parents.
Yeah,
It makes
and then
sense
like,
it's reflecting
do you
that.
see the nose kind of thing on the top left? There's like a weird nose and kind of mouth thing. Like there's black and then right
Yeah.
next to it's blue.
Top left or bottom left?
Top left.
I don't see that. You'll have to point that out to me later. Was there another thought over here?
No, it was
Okay. Yeah, Aya?
jealous.
Is he jealous?
he looks jealous.
Maybe. When we think of green, what do we think of?
Envy.
Envy. That's like in our culture. What else? But he's not even American, so what might he be thinking of?
Guilt.
Skies.
Yeah, it's nice one too. Or vegetables.
Vegetables. Where do we see green?
Money.
Oh, like grass and trees.
Okay, what do grass and trees have in common?
Green.
Life.
Life.
Life. That's what.
Life. It's a very earthly color, right? Okay. Okay, so he's here, very alive. And we have this ghostly figure here who's very blue, very cold. Not so alive. She's dead, right?
Right.
She's a dog.
She's dead.
Right.
Okay? Now this is, we established, because Christian came up here and he said, he's smiling, but he's also kind of sad. Maybe he's crying. What kind of a memory is this?
Bittersweet.
Bittersweet.
Or sweet, but bitter because it's.
If this is a memory of his and it's bittersweet, what is this memory?
Could be his wedding day.
It could be his wedding day.
And his life is pain.
It could be his wedding day. Would that explain maybe why he's up in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
It could be the
His
anniversary,
wife is
right?
dead. His wife is dead.
So let's learn a little thing about Marc Chagall. When I brought this painting up for my elementary school students, I didn't know anything about Marc Chagall. I knew nothing about Marc Chagall. I only brought up the painting because I wanted to teach them art color theory. And it had a bunch of blue and a bunch of bright orange, and I was like, great, perfect. I'll teach them about complementary colors. But then we started analyzing the image and started learning things about Marc Chagall that none of us knew. And it was really cool. We had the same conversation with 4th, 5th, and 6th graders that we just had together as a class. And we learned some interesting things about Marc Chagall, and we got really, really excited. So we got on the internet to find out if we were right. And it turns out we weren't. So Marc Chagall was born in 1887. He met his wife, Bella Rosenfeld, in 1908. They were married later in 1915. She died in 1944. Marc Chagall painted this painting called The Tree of Life in 1948. Marc Chagall loved his wife. She was his muse. She was his inspiration. He adored her. He adored her. And when she passed away, he painted her incessantly, over and over and over again. He missed her greatly. He did later on remarry. He moved to the States. He had a happy second marriage and all that kind of stuff. But he took it hard. He took it hard when he lost her. Here's some more paintings of the two of them that he did. This is images. He was fun. He had a fun, quirky, sort of almost experimental technique in the way that he liked to tell imagery, but it was fun and lighthearted as well. He's become since one of my favorite painters. I really like him, both because of who he is and his art, but also just because it's become a big part of my lesson. So here are some images of them together. But I love this quote that I'll just share with you. This is a quote that he gave when reminiscing about the first time he saw her. And just listen to the love and admiration that he has for this woman. Quote, "Her silence is mine, her eyes mine. I feel she has known me always, my childhood, my present life, my future, as if she were watching over me, divining my innermost being. Though this is the first time I have seen her, I knew this is she, my wife." Isn't that precious? All right, so there's the two of them together. So we learned some interesting things about Marc Chagall, about the artist, and about the story that's being told just from this one single painting. Ladies, gentlemen, you have 24 paintings in every second of your film. Imagine the meaning that can be derived from them all. Imagine the secret messages that you can place in there for your audience. Okay? That's the kind of stuff that you want to be able to do as an artist. That's the kind of stuff that you want to be able to do as a filmmaker. Okay, so we want to be able to tell stories visually. This goes all back to what we used to start talking about at the beginning of last year and that we've continued to say all through this year. We want to be able to tell stories visually. We want to be able to show and not tell, right? Because it's better, it's more powerful. There's that film language that we want to develop in such a way that we can understand things as an audience, we can communicate effectively as filmmakers, there it is, without having to spell it out. Without having to write it out so that everyone understands our intentions. It's so much more fun and so much more engaging for an audience to derive meaning from these things, right? Okay, so here's a painting from a painter I like. His name is Norman Rockwell. How many of you have seen his work before? He's very, very famous. You've probably seen his work before. So here's Norman Rockwell. And when I was a young film student / animation student, we had a teacher who used to pull out Norman Rockwell paintings in particular, and he called them cinematic stills, because he just loved the story that was just ingrained in these. And he would pull out a painting like this. He'd say, "Tell me a story. Ready, go." So tell me, ladies and gentlemen, tell me a story. What is going on here in this particular image? Yes?
This kid wants to play baseball, got diagnosed with eye disease, and he really doesn't want to look like not the fit. He doesn't want to look nerdy. He wants to look like a jock.
Okay. Glasses aren't cool,
Yeah.
is what he's saying. Yes? No? Yes? No? Yes?
The doctor's super excited because he knows the kid's going to be really upset, but once he puts them on, he's going to be so happy that he can see.
Okay. All right. Would you guys agree with this story?
Yes.
Jamil, something to add?
The doctor is his dad.
The doctor's his dad? Maybe. I like that. I've never had that twist before. Maybe the doctor's his dad. So I love these characters, right? So here's this kid. I love the expression on his face. You know, glasses are not cool, right? He's got his baseball glove. He's got his sleeves rolled up. He wants to be a cool kid. He's got his baseball cap tucked his belt. It's a Dodgers hat, so he's not that smart. And then we've got this guy. I love this guy. Sometimes we focus so much on the kid, we sometimes overlook the doctor. I love this guy as a character. Every time I see this image, I imagine him very daintily taking these glasses and putting them on this child's face, as if to say, "These are so wonderful. Now you're going to look just like me." You know, like he's so excited about it. This is a man who is passionate about his eyewear, right? Like, and he doesn't understand that not everyone shares his passion for optometry, right? Like, he's really into this. Like, he loves glasses. Why wouldn't you want to wear glasses? Glasses are so amazing, right? He's saying to this kid who's just like, "You don't understand." It's a generational thing, right? This is cool. This is the whole story in one image. And that's awesome. Here's another one. Tell me a story. Tell me a story.
You should see the other guy.
You should see the other guy.
See the other guy.
Okay.
That's what she's saying.
Okay.
Tomboy girl.
Tomboy girl. Okay, go.
Who got in a fight.
Okay.
And she got beat up, but she's happy.
Okay.
But even though she was
All right. All right. Yes?
I think that she was against the school district, and she tried to take a stand by beating up the principal, but he won.
Wow. That escalated quickly. Okay, yes.
She didn't see the doorknob and ran in.
She did see the doorknob and ran into it. Yeah.
She got in the fight, and then she is proud of it, but she also knows she's screwed. She's trying to hide it by acting proud of it.
Okay. I see that. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but that faculty's face and that mom is like, that mom looks like she's a, I don't know.
She's gonna give her another black guy.
She's got to give another black guy. Something to add, Ethan?
Yeah, I kind of feel like, you know, she's like a really put together girl usually, and then she kind of just snapped and got in a fight, but she won, right, and she's in trouble, and she's kind of like, oh, it kind of felt good to lose it, and the principal and the mom was like, why would she do this? That's not my little girl or whatever. This doesn't make any sense.
Okay. I kind of see this the way you said a tomboy. I kind of see this as a tomboy character. I think she's always in trouble. I think, we see the bully. I think she's the playground bully. I think she's the one. I think she beats up all the boys and wins. I think she's a tough girl. I mean, look at her hair. It's all disheveled. She's got her sleeves rolled up. Her socks are hanging down. Her blouse is disheveled and all this kind of stuff. And she's got a nice black eye, and she's stoked. She loves it. She's a real spitfire, and I love her as a character. I think she's just really dynamic. And so, here's a rough and tumble girl, who wants to, and this is probably the 50s, right? So, girls are, you're supposed to go play with your dolls, right? Go hang out over there, you can't play football or soccer with the boys, and she's like, no way, get me in there. Like, I love that. That's so cool, right? She's all rough and tumble. And then I love these characters over here, right? I could be her mother. Some of you mentioned that maybe it's her mother. It may be. I thought maybe it was like the teacher that brought her in, like maybe the yard duty or like the secretary or something like that. And then this guy at the desk, I'm assuming he's the principal because it's his office. He looks terrified, right? He looks like a deer in headlights. And I just love this because I think he has absolutely no idea how to deal with this. I think he's used to like boys beating up each other and boys getting into trouble and girls being quote unquote sweet and charming and all this kind of stuff. And then I think he has no idea what to do. I think he's totally out of his element. And I think that's hilarious. It's a great scene all set up into one image. An image can be really, really powerful with one single image. How about this one? This is a very powerful image. This is a very famous Norman Rockwell painting.
It looks like the girl that had to be bussed into an all-white high school and got attacked and had to be escorted, but she just did it. And then, yeah, they have the armbands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also the slur on the wall.
Okay.
She looks strong, though.
This is a heavy image. In his later years, Norman Rockwell became very passionate about civil rights in particular. This painting in particular is regarded as one of like a very pivotal piece in the civil rights movement. Yeah, go ahead.
It almost looks like she's trying to kind of be behind them and unnoticed to try to blend in with them in the front by being really close to people in front of her and not the ones behind her.
Okay. Yeah.
I think she's trying to stand out. Like, this doesn't really affect her anymore. She's here to, like, get her thing done. And, yeah.
Christian?
I think she's holding her head up high. She knows, she's like, hey, this is where...
She is. I mean, look at the body language of her. I mean, she is standing up straight as can be. This is a proud young girl. If you know the history, she's only 6 years old. 6 years old. This is a powerful image, right? 6 years old, yeah.
She stands out so much. Everything else is dulled out, the blacks
Yeah.
and the grays, and then she's just pure black and white.
Yeah.
The white of the dress stands out. From
Yeah, your eyes go towards her. Rockwell really wants to highlight her. These other characters are there, but they're not important, right? We don't see their faces. Rockwell wants you to see that these authority figures are here, but that, who they are as a person is not important. She is the one that's important here, yeah.
You can see since their heads are cut off, it goes with the idea that they're really not important, but their armbands are bright yellow, and those really stand out.
Good.
It's almost like it's showing that these people are here. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the stance of this young woman, this young proud woman. The way that she walks, the way that the movement is. If you compare her to the U.S. Marshals here, she has the same stride, the same walk. It's Rockwell is telling you she's as powerful. This little 6-year-old is as powerful as these U.S. Marshals. It's like she's one of them. She's an authority figure. She's a powerhouse amidst all this horribleness. Like, she is a young, proud, strong young woman, and that's really cool. That's really, really cool. One of my students this morning pointed out that she's walking almost as if she's a leader. Obviously, she has to be surrounded and flanked by these authority figures in the context of the history, but yet she's like leading, like she's closer to the front than she is to the back. Or the movement is this way. We see her on this side of the painting versus on this side of the painting. She's a leader. She's in front. Yeah.
Well, she's also, yeah, they all have their left foot forward. She has her right foot forward. Very different. Feel very different if it was the other way around.
Is it her left or her right? I'm not sure you can tell.
I can't tell.
Right.
It's
It
her right.
looks like it's her right. From that direction, you can see.
And everyone else has.
Well, if this is her right arm,
Oh, wait.
this would be her left leg.
It looks like it's further back.
Right? Because when you walk, your right arm and your left, right? Yeah.
I think the way she's walking through, it kind of makes it look like that she doesn't care that the marshals are there and that she'd kind of be walking ahead of them or doing the same thing without them, which kind of, I feel like, you know, puts it forward even more that she's just going to do it.
Yeah. It's a cool image. It's a very, very powerful image, very, very famous image. It's called The Problem We All Live With, as I recall. Okay. So this was something that one of my old film/animation teachers used to do, and then we had to develop our own. So this was my own cinematic still as a young animation student. I did this in Maya, believe it or not, many years ago. And this was my cinematic still. Very briefly, because I don't want to take too much more time on these. Anyone care to make a story of my cinematic still? Yeah.
I think this man was on his way to a business trip, and he cares so much about his work that he lets himself die with the work still beside him.
Okay. Anyone else?
He'd do anything to get away from his wife.
Wow. Okay. Yes.
Kathy.
He didn't listen to his mom and he went on his own adventure.
He didn't listen to his mother, went on his own adventure, and thus here he is. Yes.
I think he's kind of cut himself off from the world due to a sort of depressed state, and he's lying in bed and feels like he might as well just be drowning in it and dead. And his phone is just collecting missed calls next to him, and it's overwhelming. He doesn't want to bother trying to respond to it. There's too many.
Wow. Apparently I was in a dark place when I made this. Yes.
He has too many missed calls from his mom, and that's what happened to him.
Too many missed calls. It's funny how like you and AM like see the missed calls and you all say it's mom. I think it's very, very telling. Yes.
His cell phone battery lasted longer than
It's his cell phone battery. Jamil?
he didn't miss calls because he's dead.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Ethan, last thought.
The boat's there.
The boat is here.
So I think he came here and he just, you know, he came here to like get away. In my view, it just like died.
Would it add any context to this story if I told you that this was actually my cell phone at the time?
You're on a journey.
Oh, you were really like stressed and
I was really stressed.
yeah. And then you were like, I need to get out of here.
I need to get out of here. Interesting. Always fun to hear you analyze me. Okay. If you're curious, the way that I see it, the way that I intended it, was in my personal life, I'm somewhat introverted. I like my alone time. I like my private islands. And I think there's something to be said for retreating to one's own private space, for one's own private island. I like to be alone. I enjoy that when I leave the hustle and bustle of the workplace. I love seeing all of you, and then I go home, and then I stay home alone, and I like that, and it's wonderful. However, even then, and even now, I'm aware that that's not always a healthy thing for my social life. It's not a very healthy thing for my relationships, and so on and so forth. So pros and cons to one's private island. Many missed calls. If I'm not careful, maybe I'll die alone on this particular island. So hey, easy there. Okay. All right. So that was my cinematic still that I made. This was a challenge for me, working in Maya. That was new and different for me at the time, and I never really did a whole lot of that after that. But it was fun to develop that skill. All right. So when you are making a film, we want to show and not tell. There's a variety of ways that you can make a film or a cinematic still like this. This is the kind of stuff we want in our movies, right? In our moving pictures, right? Okay? There's a number of different ways that we can show and not tell. So we can do that, for example, in the details of the story. I'm not going to talk a lot about this today. We did this in depth the other day when we talked about screenwriting and when we developed dialogue. Remember I gave the example of Romeo and Juliet, right? Where we want to show and not tell, where instead of Romeo and Juliet saying, oh, I love you so much and I love you, but we can never be together. I know, it's horrible, right? That's telling. We don't want that. We want to show in the story and let the audience infer those types of things. So we're not going to talk a lot about that today. But there are other ways that we can show visually within your story versus telling, all right? So we can do that with color. We can do that with light and shadow. We can do it with the layout and the composition of the frame. And we can do that with blocking. And these are all tools of the cinematographer. These are all tools of the director of photography and the director. This, if you like this stuff, today's for you. This is the kind of thing that really makes a cinematic masterpiece. This is what the greats can accomplish. It takes a lot of thought and a lot of creativity and a lot of planning, and as well as a lot of execution. All right, with all of these, there's a variety of sort of methods to show versus tell. So we can do it with the meaning, the literal, for example. Somebody earlier said about Chagall's painting where his face was green. They said, oh, he's green with envy. That we've associated green with a literal meaning in our culture, right? Sometimes colors have specific meanings. For example, in our culture, red has come to mean passion, right? Stuff like that. But there's also like a feeling and an emotion that can be associated with any of those things, right? Red also has a feeling to it. Green also has a feeling to it. It might not be the literal meaning, but there's an emotion that can sometimes be attached to it, depending on how you portray it. And then there's symbolism that can be done in a metaphorical way. How many of you have seen Schindler's List? Okay, if you haven't seen Schindler's List, you should see Schindler's List. That's another real heavy film that's a masterpiece, okay? Schindler's List is entirely black and white, except for one object. There is one object in the movie that is in color, and everything else is in black and white. And Spielberg does that so that you see that object, so when it pops up again, you know exactly what's going on. And no one says what's going on, but you know exactly what's going on. And it's way more powerful because of the context associated with that. And that's done with metaphorical and symbolic meaning. All right, so we're going to start today with color. Color is a useful tool for you that you can show and not tell in your work. You can create meaning in your work, okay? You can do this with color theory, like the actual meaning of the colors, like we already talked about. But you can also do this with the temperature, the feeling of the emotion. And you can do this with symbolism. So this, for example, if you turn on the television and you watch a show like this, what can we learn just from looking at an image like this about the show that we're watching? Go ahead.
Artificial.
Artificial.
Medical.
Medical. Why?
Because it's very neutral colors and calming colors, and they have those.
Neutral, calm. Okay, if you go into a hospital that has been built within the last 15 years, this is the color tones that you will see. Because hospitals want you to feel calm when you get bad news. Okay? They also want you to feel like it's a clean place, a sterile place. So when you go into a hospital, you're going to see a lot of white. You're going to see a lot of gray, a lot of light blue, because it's calming. Okay? This is the same reason why you go into almost every restaurant everywhere, and you're going to see the color red. You're going to see some yellows, right? Because those colors elicit a hunger inside of us, right? That's actually proven. That's why advertisers and McDonald's and Burger King and all those restaurants use those colors, because you'll actually eat more as a result, right? Okay? We could turn on a show like this. And just looking at this image, just looking at this group of people, what can we infer about this group of people just by looking at the image?
Casual. Quirky though.
Casual, quirky, fun.
Interesting.
Okay, what kind of a show is this?
Comedy.
It's a comedy. It's a comedy. I can tell because look at all these people. It's brightly lit. It's really, really colorful. These people are all very quirky. These people are all very different. There's a lot of variety here. Each one is an individual with a very unique and strong personality, and they all come together to make this fun and quirky Community, which is the name of the show. If you haven't watched the show, you should watch it. It's great. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it. If they ever made a movie or a television show about freestyle, it would look a lot like this.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Okay, we're going to watch now. Yes, we're going to watch now some clips from Aladdin, okay, because Disney does this very, very well, okay, using color to derive meaning, just like Alex was hinting at, okay?
This is when I walked He did? I haven't watched this thing up.
It's a really cute monkey. Yeah. Look how big his head is.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay. No. All right, so we're going to start here. Here's Aladdin. He's having a great old time. That's a great image. I love that. That's outstanding. So here's Aladdin having a great old time. He's stealing stuff. He's stealing bread, and it's wonderful, and all that kind of stuff. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is off topic, but you remember this. What's going on here?
Save the cat.
Aladdin is going to save the cat. Oh, jeez. Look at that. Look at those little kittens.
It's okay that he's so famous.
It's okay that he's a thief. I like him now. He's a good guy. See? There he is. Saving the cat.
Go on, take it.
Take it. There you go. There you go. There you go. Oh, even the nasty monkey's going to save the cat. Aw, look at that. He's not so bad. He's not such a bad monkey. Okay. All right, so here's Aladdin. He's in prison. What colors do we see? Okay, let's just keep that in mind as we watch this scene develop.
Abu, down here.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit.
Who are you? A lonely prisoner like yourself. But together, perhaps we can be more. I'm listening. There is a cave, boy. A cave of wonders, filled with treasures beyond your wildest.
What color do you see? Red. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Treasure enough to impress even your princess, I'd wager. Jafar, can you hurry up? I'm dying in here. The law says that only a prince can. You've heard of the golden rule, haven't you? Whoever has the gold makes the rules. So why would you share all this wonderful treasure with me? I need a young pair of legs and a strong back to go in after it. One problem. It's out there, we're here. Things aren't always what they seem.
Should Aladdin go down there?
No. Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue. Here we are in the Cave of Wonders. What colors do we see?
Gold.
Lots of gold. Lots of gold. Gold is cool. I like gold. All right. And then we're going to skip ahead over to here.
It's a trap.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. This is my favorite part. This is where Aladdin does his Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones impersonation. Cracks me up every time.
This is it? This is what we came all the way down here to... Abu! No!
Okay. Abu's going to take the big giant red jewel. Is this a good idea?
No.
Not so much. Okay, I want you to pay very close attention now to the color. Get ready. Okay. Okay, watch. Pay attention. Pay attention. Here we go. Here we go. You ready? You ready? Watch how they do this. What do you see? Okay, if that wasn't obvious enough for you, here we go. You ready? Oh, here we go. What color do you see?
Red.
Wait, what happened? This whole room was blue and safe a minute ago. Where should he go?
Whoa!
Oh, I closed the thing. He should go to that little tiny spot of blue. That little tiny spot right there. Oh, it's gone now. You're screwed. Sorry, Aladdin. Oh, there we go. Oh, we're safe. Oh, we're not safe.
Abu, this is no time to panic. Start panicking.
Okay. I'm gonna skip ahead. I'm gonna skip ahead here. Okay, we've got our genie friend. What color is the genie?
Blue.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. We're gonna come over here. Oh, Jasmine. What color does Jasmine wear? Blue. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, we got Jafar's parrot. What color is he? Interesting. Interesting. Oh, now we're gonna go on a magic carpet ride. It's the bluest of blue. It's so magical and wonderful. It's a whole new world. It's so blue. Did okay, all right. All right, thank you. All right. What about when things aren't going so well?
Red.
So twisted.
Oh my. It's very red. This whole scene is very, very red. It's dangerous. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. Okay, so you guys get the premise, right? All right. When I first saw this movie, I was a young little kid like the rest of you when you watched this movie, and it never occurred to me that this is what Disney was doing. It never even occurred to me, I'm embarrassed to admit, it never even occurred to me until one day I was attending a lecture from the art director of this movie. She was the art director for Aladdin, and I was attending this lecture, and she was talking about working at Disney and working with John Lasseter and some other great Disney people. And then she just very casually mentioned, as if it was no big deal, oh yeah, it's like in Aladdin where we made everything good blue and everything bad red. And I just sat there and my mind exploded a little bit. My little young college mind exploded. And I thought, how come I never noticed that before? And I went home and I looked at it and then I saw stuff like that where it's so painfully obvious but so done beautifully. But you're so involved in the story, you don't notice. But it visually supports everything that's happening. This is the kind of stuff that you have to think about as a filmmaker. This is the kind of stuff that you have to try to interject into your work to make your work really speak in a new way, in a better way, in a bolder way. All right, so when you were working on your films, you can use color in a variety of ways, okay? You can do this with set design, okay? If you're filming in your kitchen, are you filming in your kitchen just because it's your kitchen and it's there? Or are you filming in your kitchen because the color palette of the kitchen supports the story that you're trying to convey in that particular scene? Is it a dull room? Is it a brightly colored room? Why are you filming in your location? You have control over the locations that you film in. You can control color with your costume design. Okay? I'm not saying you have to go buy costumes for all of the people in your movies, but if you have a bright, quirky, fun character in your film, maybe you should say to your actor or actress, hey, bring me 3 brightly colored shirts that you own and we'll choose one among them. Or if you have a depressed and tired and run down character, hey, bring me 3 colorless outfits or really gray monotone outfits and we'll choose one of those among them, right? And that can help convey the meaning that you're trying to convey, all right? You can do this with lights and gels. We're not going to get into a whole lot of lights and gels today. That's coming later in a lesson. But you can change the color of light being cast into your scene by using different shades of gel for the light to shine through. That can be really cool. And of course, you can do this with color grading in post. We've done that before. You know a little bit about that. You can tweak the colors in Premiere or in After Effects or DaVinci or other programs to try to convey meaning in your story, make it warmer, make it colder, have it brightly colored or have it no colored, right? You can play around with a lot of this and get really cool meaning into your film. Moving on from color, you can change and derive meaning from your film by using light and shadow, light or the absence of light. The same thing with color. You can get meaning and that feeling and emotion and symbolism. You can do all of this depending on how you choose to use that light in the context of your film. So we can look at a movie like this, and you can say to yourself, what kind of a movie is this?
Fun, happy.
It's happy. Dramatic, maybe? It's a romance. Why is it romance?
The colors are bright, kind of fantasy looking in a way.
It's golden hour, right? It's bright, it's warm, right? It's a soft light. Do you see a lot of shadows here? No, this is a very idealistic, I want to be here type of light, right? Soft, comfortable, warm, like a warm hug, like a warm embrace, right? Like this is the kind of movie that this is. Okay, what about this? We can look at an image like this. You guys have seen this movie. You can look at an image like this. Even if you hadn't seen this movie, what can we learn about these characters based on how they're lit alone? Just by looking at the lighting, what can you infer about this image?
There's some kind of darkness that's around.
There maybe is some darkness that is around them. What else? Blissful youth. Okay, good. Beams of light. Look at these beams of light. Okay, what does the beams of light represent? Hope. What does this image alone say about this couple? They're happy. They are alone. They can do anything, right? No, in a world of darkness, this couple is special. It's as if there are beams of light from heaven cascading down onto this couple, as if to say, this couple gets it. This couple is the chosen couple, right? Like this couple, like they get to experience true love, right? No matter, even all this darkness, despite all this darkness around them, and even though they're alone, it's as if that's this almost like heavenly light cascading them, as if by magic, right? Okay? This is the same reason why we can watch any cop show, right? Any cop show or drama or mystery, right? We can look at all these and know immediately that they're cop or dramas or mysteries because they're shrouded in half light, half shadow, harsh shadows, harsh light, because we're always trying to uncover something, right? We're trying to figure something out. Someone who we thought was trustworthy may not be trustworthy, right? They might be two-faced, right? We don't know if we can trust them. We have to figure things out together as a mystery. If you're making a mystery or a drama or something like this, having things shrouded in darkness as we discover things can visually help support the kind of story that you're trying to convey. All right, I'm going to show you a clip from a movie called The Natural. It stars Robert Redford. It's a baseball movie, so I love it. But this movie is held up as a great example of amazing lighting in this film. But not just amazing lighting in this film. They use the light as a story means. They use the light to help convey the story. So similar to what we saw in Aladdin with the blue and the red, they do the similar type of thing with light and the absence of light throughout this movie. So it's often used as an example of that, as well as just being beautifully lit. Very, very talented people when it comes to their lighting techniques. All right, so we got this scene going on here.
Wait. You okay, Sam? All right, Ryan.
What can we infer about this scene? It's old. Okay, we saw a scene that was lit similar to this when we saw Pride and Prejudice, right?
Mind your business, red nose, and play ball.
Okay. What type of an era is this? Rural, summer, what time period? 18? No. Okay. 1920s maybe, 1930s. Okay, it's an idealistic time. It's a young and innocent time. Watch this shot coming up here.
Watch your mouth, mister. Let me down. One more. Let's go.
We got more golden hour here. This is a very romanticized time. The filmmakers are saying, look at this great era. Don't you just wish you lived at this time period? It's young, it's innocent. Look how beautiful this was. The good old days, right? All right, I'm going to skip ahead here, if I can find it. All right, here we go. I found it. All right, here we go. This is a great iconic scene. Not this scene. This is a great iconic scene in this film. Look at how it's lit. First of all, this is really hard to get a scene to look like this and to be lit like this. Second of all, obviously they're gonna address the light in the context of the story.
Oh, yeah. Roy, you want to come in here a minute?
What's up? That's the judge. The judge? Yeah, he wants to see you. Maybe I should go with you. No, I can handle it. I hope so.
So for context, that was his manager, Pop, who owns the team.
I'm Roy Hobbs.
Or at least the majority of the team. And he's going to go meet with the judge, who's kind of the manager of the team, owns the stadium, I think, and is basically trying to steal the baseball team away.
Come in. We meet at 11.
This is a swell office.
Mere creature comforts.
Could use a little more light, though.
Where you from, Hobbs?
All around, really. What about you?
Please pardon the absence of light. You see, as a youngster, I was frightened of the dark, and I used to wake up sobbing in it as if it was water, and I was drowning in it. But as you will observe, I have so thoroughly disciplined myself against that fear that now I much prefer a dark room.
The only thing I know about the dark is you can't see in it.
A pure canard.
What's a canard?
A prevarication.
What does that mean?
A lie. You can see, you know.
Well, not good enough.
You see me, don't you?
Maybe I do, maybe I don't.
I asked you here because I wanted to pay you my compliments for your performance in the field.
It's been fun.
No, you made a great contribution. Stands have been constantly filled. Financial fortunes have been radically reversed since you joined the organization.
I hadn't noticed.
You're not fascinated by the almighty dollar?
I never gave it much thought.
You're above such mundane thoughts, huh?
I didn't say that.
Oh.
No, I'm as interested in a buck as anybody else.
And I am not one to let good deeds go unrewarded. Would a new contract interest you?
Yeah.
For more money?
You want to pay me more money, that's up to you.
I don't detect any gratitude on your part, Mr. Hobbs. You know, I'm under no legal obligation to pay you one penny more.
Either way, I play to win.
Young man your age, you ought to be thinking about your future.
Well, let me put it to you this way. There's no way I'm going to let you steal this club from Pop.
The fact is, Pop Fisher is a jinxed man, and not you and all the Roy Hobbs in the world are going to change that.
Well, it'll be a team effort.
You're a very impudent man, Mr. Hobbs. The interview is ended. Hi, you come back here and turn off that infernal light.
Okay. So in that scene, you saw how they used light as a story device to support the story, similar to kind of what we saw in Aladdin. They do that throughout the whole movie. You've got characters that are introduced in light or the absence of light. You have characters that are shifting and trying to find their way, and at any given moment are in light or in the absence of light as they make better or worse decisions depending on where they're at in the story. It's a beautiful story, and it's told very, very well. It's often held up as an example of, like, look at the amazing work in the lighting area in particular. And it's a good movie. It's Robert Redford, so I like that. But you can see how that can support your story if you're trying to convey meaning through the use of light. Now, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on light because there it is. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on light since we have a whole series of light lessons coming up. But you can show and not tell by using different lighting styles like high and low key lighting, 3-point lighting, soft versus hard lighting. This is like the romance versus the cop movie, right? Okay. Or by using back or rim or what we call silhouette lighting to kind of convey meaning and to tell a story. You can use all of these techniques. We'll go into more of what these are in a future lesson, but know that this is your responsibility to try to interject meaning and convey artistic, expression in the terms in the context of your film to really support what's happening. All right, this one I really like. This one's really cool. Layout and composition. The idea that you can convey meaning and tell a story in the layout of your frame. And this is something you have full control over because you're the one framing that shot and hitting record, right? So you want to be able to set up your shot so it's aesthetically pleasing, so it looks nice. Or maybe not, right? If you want to convey a certain kind of feeling or emotion, maybe you don't want it to look pleasing. There are situations and ways that you can still make it look professional without making it look aesthetically pleasing. Okay? You can get meaning from doing so, and you can get a certain feeling or a different emotion in the way that you frame your shots, the way that things are depicted in the composition of that one single painting that's moving in your frame. Okay? And then, of course, you can do the same type of thing with symbolic meaning. So, for example, here is a screen grab from a Kurosawa film. It's called Redbeard. It's my favorite Kurosawa film. It's really, really well done. If you haven't seen it, you should. If you go to film school someday, you might. But here's a scene from Kurosawa's Redbeard. Without knowing the movie, if you haven't seen the movie, if you have, just keep your mouth shut for a second. Tell me, what can you infer from this one single image? Yes?
Well, there's sort of a divide between them. They don't really like each other right now. Maybe they'll get an argument or something.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah?
He has weight on his shoulders.
Okay. Yeah?
He seems to be more closed off and have less power because the tree's bent that direction.
Okay, good. So here we've got a literal division. Kurosawa did this stuff all the time. He loved this stuff. They're literally divided in the frame. Are these people on the same page? Are they on the same sides of the argument? No. He's very closed off to listening to her. She's she's not really towards him either. She's kind of turning her head a little bit. But does he want to hear what she has to say? Not so much. Not so much. How about this image?
One of the men is a lot higher up.
Okay.
Taking a position of power.
So who's got the power here? This guy, right? He's got the power. He's bigger in the frame. He's taller in the frame. We have the same division going on, right? There's something in the way. Kurosawa used to have this technique that he became known for, using big, long telephoto lenses with a ton of light so he could get that really deep focus with telephoto lenses. You usually don't think of having your background in focus with a telephoto lens. This is what made Kurosawa kind of unique. So he used tons and tons of light, cranked the f-stop really, 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 really high, so the aperture was really, really small, so everything was in focus, everything, right? And then that created these really interesting images where everything was compressed and it felt really like too busy almost. So you got things that are way far away in the background, but they're in focus and they're right there. And he would use them all the time as stuff like this. What are they arguing about? The woman? Right? See how he's kind of protective of her? Right? She has the least power of all of them, right? He's got the most, he's got the next, and she's got the least. Okay, how about this image? This is a great example of what I was just talking about with the telephoto lenses, right? Kurosawa used to do this. You see how this feels crowded? You see how this feels really almost claustrophobic? Right? This room was not really that claustrophobic. I've seen other images, other photos on this set of this image. But when you watch it in the movie, it feels like there's 1,000 people here, because he would use these telephoto lenses with deep, 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 deep focus. So there's no size difference. If you remember back to when you were a documentary student and we talked about the different kinds of lenses, we talked about how wide-angle lenses make big things bigger and small things smaller, remember? And we showed the faces of people, and the more fisheye you got, the bigger people's noses would get, and it just kind of made them look strange, right? So this is a lens that has no size difference. Things that are far away are just as big as things that are close, because it compresses everything. So it feels more claustrophobic. This was a conscious decision that Kurosawa made in order to make this feel like a really cramped space. It's really thoughtful the way he would kind of plan this and put this out together. Okay, we're going to watch some clips from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, because animators do this very, very well because they're not limited by actual geography or physics in some cases. So we're going to watch this opening scene from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. They do this very, very well. And we'll talk about the layout and the composition of it. You can see where they litter meaning and story in there just from a visual perspective. It's very, very, very cool. Okay, we're going to skip ahead here. Here he is. I'm going to tell you a story, yada, yada, yada.
Tale of a man and the
All right, first image. I'm going to turn that down. Sorry, that was really loud. All right, tell me what you see.
Obscured and like with things in the foreground.
Okay, obscured things. So already, how does the audience feel? Okay, like we're spying on someone, a little voyeuristic maybe. Like I'm seeing something maybe that's kind of hidden from society. Okay, what else do we see?
Dark, unlit.
Okay, let's focus. That's good. Let's focus on just strictly the composition and the layout, since that's the topic that we're on right now.
They're under pressure
Under pressure. Why?
because of the beams, the layout. It's like they don't have any space.
They don't have any space. They don't have anywhere to go. What do these beams remind you of?
Jail.
Like a prison. Who might these people be? Criminals, right? Escapees, perhaps. People who are in danger of being captured.
Was begun on the docks near Notre Dame. Shut it up, we will be spotted. Four frightened gypsies slid silently under the docks near Notre Dame. Four guilders for safe passage into Paris. But the trap had been laid for the gypsies.
Okay, let's look at this image. What do you see?
They're tucked into the corner of the thing.
Tucked into the corner?
They're vulnerable.
Kind of, they're right in the middle.
From fire. Right under the arch looks like kind of right in the middle, almost like the center of the stage.
Okay. What else about this arch?
It looks like they're trapped.
It looks like they're trapped. Now remember, film is a two-dimensional medium, right? But you're making us believe it's three dimensions. But that means you can use those two dimensions to try to convey meaning. In this two-dimensional space, there's nowhere for these people to go. This arch is keeping them in. You see how that works in the two-dimensional space? It feels like they're trapped. Okay? So in two shots, in the first couple of shots that we saw these people, what do we already feel and notice about these people just by looking at the images alone? They're going to have difficulty escaping. Right?
These that in fear and alarm, and a figure whose clutches were iron as much as the bells. Jean-Claude Boulon, the bells of Notre Dame.
All right, then we have this shot. It's going to keep going. Here's the judge. This is the authority figure. This is the big bad guy. Look at the low angle. Right? Look, we're looking way up at him. Way, way up at him. When you look up at a character like this, it's like you're looking up at them. That's an expression, right? You're looking up at someone. That's where it comes from, right? Because we're literally, when you're a kid, you look up to someone because they're taller than you, and you admire them, and you revere them, or you look up to them because they're an authority figure. He is the ultimate authority figure in this shot. Look how big, and look at the extreme angle that they shoot him in. Look at this. By contrast, are we looking up at these people? No, we're looking down at them. We see a bunch of spears surrounding them. They have nowhere to go.
World of vice and sin, and he saw corruption everywhere.
What do you see? What do you see? They're still trapped. They're still trapped. We got the arch trapping them, but where else are they trapped? The horse and him. In this two-dimensional space, they have nowhere to go. And look how big he is. Look how big the horse is. They're big and huge, and they're small, and they have nowhere to go. He has got all the power here. They, not so much.
Within, bring these gypsy vermin to the Palace of Justice. You there, what are you hiding?
Stolen goods, no doubt. Take them from her.
Okay, this is cool. We're going to do this tracking shot where we follow this woman running. What do you see?
More bars.
More bars. Okay, this is a common theme, right? She's being caged, she's being trapped. What else is interesting about these bars?
They're pointed.
They're pointed. They look like the spears we saw earlier, don't they?
Yeah.
As she's running, as she's doing this tracking shot, the camera's staying with her, which means what's happening to these bars? They're going to be the ones moving. And they're going to keep on moving towards her over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, as if hitting her in this two-dimensional space, right? It's visually, she's getting hit with spears over and over and over again. See that? What's happening here?
Oh my God, there's more.
There's more. What's happening here? Disney's spelling it out for you. Are things going to end well for this woman?
She's totally
No. Things are not going to end well for this woman. What's happening here? She's totally closed off. He's friggin' huge, right? She's this tiny little person. We're looking down on her. It's got everything we just talked about. She's trapped in this little space, and to top it all off, what's happening here? We have these big, giant wooden beams that are crushing her repetitively over and over and over again. Disney's not hiding the fact that things are not going to go well for this woman. Okay? Look at that horse. Look at that horse. That is terrifying. Okay, we see more of the bars, the lines, right? The repetitive theme. He's way up here, she's way down there.
Baby? A monster. Cried the Archdeacon.
This is an unholy demon. I'm sending it back to hell, where it belongs.
See there the innocent blood you have spilled on the steps of Notre Dame.
I am guiltless. She ran, I pursued.
Okay, this is really cool. All right, who do we have here? We have a new character. We have a new character. Who is he? New character. Who is he? He's a priest. He's a priest of Notre Dame. Okay, this is the first person who's standing up to this guy. Okay, he is engaging in a debate. He is engaging in an argument. They do not agree. Look how big he is in the frame. Oh, finally, someone with authority standing up to this evil judge. And the audience says, oh, right, look at this. Look at this. This guy can do something. This guy has the capability to do something about this. And then watch this shot. What are they telling you?
He's strong.
Nope. Nope. He's not going to win this argument. Sorry, folks. Sorry, folks. Look at the strength here. Look at the power here. Visually, this poor priest. We thought he might have a chance. Nope. Not so much.
My conscience is clear.
Okay, we're looking down on the priest. Judge Frodo is much higher than him.
And your minions, you can claim that you haven't a qualm, but you never can run from nor hide what you've done from the eyes. The very eyes of Notre Dame. And for one time in his life, a power and control.
Okay, you ready? You ready?
Oh,
What do you see?
The authority of the church.
Okay.
Strike him down.
We have a new competitor. We have a new competitor in this battle. Who is the competitor?
God.
It's Notre Dame. Okay, it's the building of Notre Dame here. Are they on same sides of the argument? No, we have the same lines that we used earlier to separate the two sides of this debate. But who, ladies and gentlemen, has the power and strength in this debate?
The church.
The building. And it's not even close. Look how tiny that big looming Judge Frodo was. He was so huge a moment ago. And look how small and insignificant he is compared to the power of Notre Dame. Okay, that's cool. And look at this shot. This is physically impossible, by the way, but Disney's to do what they want, to emphasize the visual layout to prove a point in this particular part of the story. Okay, here's the stairs. We assume the building runs parallel with the stairs. This line shouldn't be like this. This line should be straight, right? In theory, why is it like this? It's imposing on him. It's leaning on him, right? You feel as though this building could crush him at any given moment, like a bug, right? And that's cool. That's cool because now we see out of all this man's power, it was nothing compared to the power of Notre Dame.
Felt a twinge of fear for his immortal.
Okay? We've got the statue of Notre Dame staring him down, okay, right in the middle of the frame. You almost never see people or figures right in the middle of the frame like this because it looks a little unsettling. But you do see it when you see something that's hyper organized and you want to get the feeling that it's super organized, or when you see supreme ultimate authority, which is what we're seeing here in this shot. And to top it all off, it's holding a baby, which in the story, context of the story, is again showing us and not telling us the guilt that is coming towards this man, right? And that's pretty cool. Okay, now watch the other half of this scene.
Care for the child and raise it as your...
Okay, the priest has stood.
What? I'm to be saddled with this misshapen... Very well. But let him live.
The priest is now on top of the stairs.
He has the high ground.
All right, and now Judge Frodo is on his horse. They're speaking at eye level. No one's looking up or down at the other. They're at the same level.
Live here. Where? Anywhere. Just so he's kept locked away where no one else can see. The bell tower, perhaps. And who knows, our Lord works in mysterious ways. Even this foul creature may yet prove one day to be of use to me.
I love composition because I feel like this is the one that you have more control over than anything else. Like you could have complete control of this. Where you aim the camera is entirely up to you. So being able to litter your film with visual support for your story and how you position things within the frame can add a lot of meaning to the story, which I think is super, super cool. So you can control this based on the location, the size of people or subjects in the frame, similar to what we saw in the example with the Hunchback of Notre Dame. You can control that, and that's really cool. You can do it with your choice of lens, like we saw with Kurosawa, right? Your lens choice can make big things bigger or small things smaller, or you can compress everything and make it feel claustrophobic. Or you can do it with depth of field, right? Separation from the background versus no separation from the background, right? You can do it with the rule of thirds, or not, as we saw in one of the shots in Notre Dame, okay? You can do it with space, or with the absence of space. The gypsies had nowhere to go. There was no space for them to go to, and it felt trapped. Okay? And this one we're going to talk about, you can do it with blocking. What is blocking? You guys know what blocking is. Tell me.
It's like the movement.
Okay? Determining where the actors will be and where they will go on the set. But it's not just the actors. It's also determining where the camera is going to be in relationship to the actors and how the camera moves throughout the scene. Okay? You have a lot of control over how your story feels and the visual language that's coming across in your story by using the blocking of your scene. Now, a lot of the dialogue scenes that you guys showed today and I had you shoot were very static, right? Which I expected, in which I wasn't requiring any more than that, right? You had your triangle coverage, your master shot, your two singles, boom, you're done, okay? Not a lot of blocking, right? But that script, that screenplay that I gave you, those 3 pages, could have very easily supported a lot of blocking. And we could have seen a lot of exchange between the power and strength of characters, right? Where Taylor takes the screenplay and Taylor could have walked around while Robin chased after and said, no, I don't want you to read it. No, I want to read it. You know, there could have been a lot of opportunities for Taylor to come closer to the camera or further away from the camera, and for Robin to go further and backwards to show size emphasis in the layout of the screen. So you can control a lot of the layout and the composition, those feelings of strength or power or isolation, loneliness, companionship. You can do a lot of this with how you lay things out, and you have a lot of control over that using blocking, which is really, really cool. It's one more thing for you to think about on a sea of so many, many things that you have to think about when you're making a film. But this is the kind of stuff that separates the really great filmmakers from the competent filmmakers, okay? So this is a scene from Citizen Kane. Orson Welles is Citizen Kane. Nobody did this better than Orson Welles in Citizen Kane. On Friday, we're going to watch Citizen Kane in its entirety. And when we do so, we're going to get into film mode. And we are going to watch it and analyze it with that perspective. And you're going to see so much of this. It's really cool, the kind of stuff that Orson Welles did in that particular movie. How many of you have seen Citizen Kane? Okay? If you've seen Citizen Kane, keep your mouth shut. No spoilers, okay? There's a lot of people in the room who haven't seen Citizen Kane. We're going to watch this one scene from Citizen Kane, and I want you to pay attention to the blocking, but also to the composition and layout, the stuff that we just talked about with Hunchback of Notre Dame. Some of you in the room are thinking, well, of course Disney is able to do that stuff in Hunchback of Notre Dame. They can draw anything they want. And that's true. But here's an example of real life people, live actors. And here's an example of Orson Welles doing the same kind of stuff that we saw in Hunchback of Notre Dame, but doing it with actors and their relationship to the camera with blocking. And it's really, really cool. There we go.
Be careful, Charles.
Hey.
Pull your muffler around your neck, Charles.
Kane, I think we shall have to tell him now.
Yes. I'll sign those papers now, Mr. Thatcher.
You people seem to forget that I'm the boy's father.
It's going to be done exactly the way I've told Mr. Thatcher.
There ain't nothing wrong with Colorado. I don't see why we can't raise our own son just because we come into some money. If I want, I can go to court. A father has a right to. A boarder that beats his bill and leaves worthless stock behind. That property is just as much my property as anybody's, now that it's valuable. And if Fred Graves had any idea all this was going to happen, he'd have made out those certificates in both our names.
However, they were made out in Mrs. Kane's name.
He owed the money for the board to the both of us.
The bank's decision on all matters
I don't hold with signing my boy away to any bank as guardian.
I want you to
just
stop
because.
all this nonsense.
The bank's
Jim.
decision on all matters concerning his education, his places of residence, and similar subjects is to be
The
final.
idea of a bank being the
I
guardian.
want you to stop all this nonsense, Jim.
We will assume full management of the Colorado loan, of which I repeat, Mrs. Kane, you are the sole owner.
Where do I sign, Mr. Thatcher?
Right here, Mrs. Kane.
Harry, I'm asking you for the last time. Anybody'd think I hadn't been a good
The sum of
husband, father.
$50,000 a year is to be paid to you and Mr. Kane as long as you both live, and thereafter to the survivor.
Well, let's hope it's all for the best.
It is.
Why, I can't pay my own employee. All right,
Go on, Mr. Thatcher.
Everything else, the principal as well as all monies earned, is to be administered by the bank in trust for your son Charles Foster Kane until he reaches his 25th birthday, at which time he is to come into complete possession.
Charles! Go on, Mr. Thatcher.
Well, it's almost 5, Mrs. Kane. Don't you think I'd better meet the boy?
I've got his trunk all packed. I've had it packed for a week now.
Okay, we're going to start this over again, and I'm going to turn off the sound. And tell me your observations. Little tiny boy, all alone.
He was free and now he is trapped.
All right, and now we've got these other characters, and what are these other characters doing?
Putting him in a box.
Okay, putting him in a little box. Okay, what are they doing literally in the scene?
They're controlling his destiny.
They're controlling his future. They're controlling his destiny, all right? And watch how Orson Welles frames this. This is amazing. I love this. I love this scene and the way this is laid out. I guarantee they drew an X on the floor and said, "Kid, this is your spot. You cannot move from this spot." And there he is playing in this spot. And here, like, what's happening?
They're debating over his future.
Look at this. They are literally and figuratively debating over his future. Like, that's amazing, right? Isn't that cool? Like that, I just find that so fast. I just think that's so cool. I think that's so cool how they did that. Like, they're figuratively and literally actually arguing over the boy to support the story, which I think is really, really cool. Does he have any say in his future?
No.
None whatsoever. He is a tiny speck out there all alone. And it's not going to make any difference whatsoever what he does. All right? I love this part right here. So here they are arguing. Okay, so what do you see here? You got mom and banker guy and dad. Okay, what do you observe?
Dad's further back.
Dad's further back. Dad looks different.
He has no power control.
Okay, no power, no control. His wardrobe is completely different. We talked about wardrobe and color. There's no color here, but look how similar these two look. Are they on the same page?
Yeah.
Very much so. She's even got like a tie and like a collared shirt like he does. They're both wearing black. Very, very similar. Then you got this guy who's like disheveled. Okay, watch as he makes his like last plea, right? His last argument. Watch the blocking. Wait for it. He's going to step forward. Oh, maybe Dad's going to stand up for his son. Look, he's big, he's imposing, he's looking down. Maybe he's got a chance. And then they say, and we're also, by the way, we're going to pay you. And he says, oh, well, maybe it's for the best. And then the camera tilts away. He's out of the picture. Sorry, Dad, you're gone. Okay? Then Dad retreats into the background. He's going to close the window as if to protect his son from these people. And watch. Here comes Mom. Opens it right back up again. And then this gorgeous, gorgeous shot. What do you see? It's everything we've been talking about. What do you see? Say it. What do you see? She's got all the power. What else? She's closing off Dad. Dad's totally trapped over here. He's got nowhere to go. No winning argument. He's totally on the same team as her. He's got the space with her. They look similar. It's a great shot. Citizen Kane is full of this stuff. When we watch this on Friday, I want you to really pay attention for that kind of stuff because he uses blocking and layout and composition, those two things. He uses them very, very, very well to support the story and the emotions that he's trying to convey, even to hint at things that are about to happen in the scene or to hint at things that might happen later in the film in terms of the story and the way things move. It's very, very cool. All right, so when you are blocking, it is very important that you rehearse with your actors, all right? You need to make sure they know where they're supposed to go. In some cases, you need to mark things, like on the ground, right? Mark the spots. This is the job of your second AC, the person who's doing the slate, all right? To mark spots with a little gaffer's tape. I don't know who did it, but I was walking out in the quad the other day, and I saw some marks out there. I saw some marks out there, and I thought, hey, that's really cool. Somebody made some marks, and they did it right, too.
We did some by the
And by the bathroom? Okay, I saw those, too. So mark your spots, okay? This can be a really helpful tool for you to get your actors to mark where they need to be and to figure out where the camera is going to move and all that kind of stuff, because this is really cool stuff. This is what separates the really great filmmakers from the average filmmakers. We talked about a lot of jobs today, and we talked a lot about jobs and industries and departments last week. These are just some of the jobs that are responsible for these types of decisions in your film. Obviously, it all comes down to the director of photography and the director. They're the ones that are responsible to kind of have the creative aspects to make these decisions, but it's all these other jobs that put them into motion and execute them and make them happen. The storyboard artists, some of you are going to be doing storyboards for your films. You first-year film students are going to be doing storyboards. This is a great opportunity for you to visualize and practice this stuff, the layout, the composition, color if needed. You don't have to color all your storyboard, but maybe make a note of what color you want to use in any given scene, lighting, stuff like that. Okay? It's a great opportunity for you to visualize stuff. Those of you who I'm not requiring storyboards for, there's no harm in storyboarding a few shots here or there to really make sure you're getting the look that you want. It can be really helpful to you if you look at things visually. And as filmmakers, a lot of us do. All right? Set decorators, costumes, lighting technicians, and gaffers, so on and so forth. Everyone's responsible to help put these into motion and to help execute the vision of the cinematographer and the director. But ultimately, for your films, it's up to you. How are you going to convey the feeling, the emotion, the meaning, the symbolism? How are you going to interject this level of filmmaking into your work? How can you support your story from a visual perspective? How can you show and not tell? And if you're one of my 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, I would say to you, how are you going to put secret messages into your films for your audience to find. That's my lesson. Thank you so much. It's my very favorite lesson, my very, very best one. I appreciate it. This is the cool stuff. This is the stuff that I get really passionate about. This is the stuff that I want you to notice when you go to the movie theater. You'll see these types of things that maybe you didn't notice before, and you're going to notice them forever and always now, I hope. That's my goal. That's the idea. That's what makes great film analysis and what really makes things a lot of fun. Next week, you're lining your scripts. You have a screenplay due Friday, a revised screenplay due Friday. I'm hoping to read a great many screenplays in the next coming days and weeks ahead. And I'm hoping to help you revise them further and really make them work. But you've got screenplays that are due. Next week, this is what we are doing. We are going to take all these things, this stuff in film mode. We're going to take your screenplay, you and your partner are going to sit down, you're going to get into film mode, and you're going to figure this stuff out. Where can I put this stuff in my film? How can I support my film visually? How can I put secret messages into my work and really make my film come alive and really step it up from just an amateur level to a really refined, advanced, professional level? So in the 15 minutes that we have left, we got 15 minutes. In the 15 minutes that we have left, I want you and your partner or partners to pick a scene in your movie. Pick a scene in your screenplay. Visualize one and sit down and start thinking about it. Get into film mode. Where can you do some cool Citizen Kane composition blocking stuff? Where can you do that cool thing that Hunchback of Notre Dame did? Are there any colors that you can utilize like they saw in Aladdin, or maybe some interesting lighting techniques like we saw in The Natural? Pick out a film. Are there scenes in your film that lend themselves really well to some of this stuff? Make some notes about it. Write it down. Draw some thumbnails if that helps you so you don't forget. You'd be surprised how quickly you forget stuff if you don't write it down and get it down somewhere where you can consult it later. Get with your partner. Think about stuff. Think about what you want to do. Get on the same page. Exchange ideas. You'll come up with something better than you did when you first started. And then get that stuff down on paper, because next week we're lining your screenplays. And this is the kind of stuff that we want to put into those lines when we start lining those screenplays, so that you can get that stuff down, develop a shot list, and then you'll be prepared well before you go out and shoot, so that you can worry about all of the stuff that you worried about when you were shooting the scenes that I had you do. Because if you try to worry about all of that and all of this, it's never going to happen. Like, you got to plan out this stuff ahead of time. Get all the creative stuff done ahead of time, so when you get out there on set, it's all about just executing. It's all about just getting it done and then moving on, and you've done all the creative heavy lifting. Okay? Ready? Ready to go.
I'm feeling a lot of energy.
Well, yeah.